part of the Beneath the Bricks committee, and that's a group of people in the community and at Northwestern who are trying to highlight not only archaeology but what might be beneath our bricks as we rip up Front Street and then lay it back down so it's nice and smooth. And so our activity today was working with children behind the rock house here, and we had some stations where we learned about soil, archaeology tools, we learned about Native American tools. There is a scavenger hunt that's ongoing that children can pick up a scavenger hunt at Cane River Kitchenware and do some activities where there are exhibits at Cane River Kitchenware, Kathy Frederick, also at George's Card Shop, and when you turn those in you get a prize. So that's a children's activity that'll go on until the Christmas festival. Because I teach here in Natchitoches Parish, I always like to do activities for children, and it just seemed like a good opportunity to join with all these folks that know a lot about archaeology to kind of bring it to the children's level here and have them know a lot about the history of Natchitoches. Okay, so if you want to know more about archaeology or what's beneath the bricks or what might be beneath the bricks, you can go to the Preservation Network and go to natchitochespreservation.com. There's a discussion group there and all sorts of different things for you to learn about archaeology and preservation here in Natchitoches.
Telling you about that disturbance, because you might make an error in your interpretation, you might associate it with the wrong time period. So we have a challenge for you. Come over here. Clay loam is a loam that has a little bit more clay. So I've totally mixed up the cards. You can flip them over if you were napping, where the little hints are as to what the sandy loam is. But really the only way to figure out these textures is to simply run your hand through them, touch them. Archaeologists are always touching, we were the bad kids, stop touching that, touching things, putting things in our mouth. If you think it's sand, take the sand away from it. Maybe that'll make life easier. You have 1 down, 5 to go. Woohoo! Making progress. Okay, I would do sand is easy. Do clay and do loam, right? Because clay is going to be like clay. It's going to fall together. It's going to be, if you think about that, you would have to then, after you excavate it, have it in your bucket, you carry it over to the screen and dump it into screen for artifacts. You would actually, in weather like this, have to push it through the screen.
Sometimes it could be confusing. So how about if an archaeologist is digging and he finds some of these old Indian artifacts in the area? But there's something strange that he finds in here. 2 marbles. So if we find 2 marbles and we find all these Indian artifacts that are thousands of years old, could be, and we find some modern marbles, what happens?
Somebody was there.
The Indians obviously didn't make these.
Right.
Okay? So, look at this. This is a good arrowhead, right? See this one? It dates back maybe prehistoric, probably 5,000 to 6,000 years ago.
Wow.
So, they use shells from the Gulf Coast. They use pieces to make more arrowheads. And this is a ceramics. That's a little later. So, in archaeology, you dig by layer. So you come to the first layer, you find something, you mark it all and you record it, then you dig another layer. In another one. But we found all this in one layer. So what do you think happened? How about, let's think back. Let's do an experiment in our minds. How about if a little kid was playing back in the 1900s and he was playing with this and they're throwing at each other or whatever, and it fell on the ground. Now all this other stuff was buried a little deeper, right? And he threw it there. A big rain came, washed it, and it started sinking a little bit. People walked on it. It made its way down to this level. Then another little kid, or maybe an adult, you never know, was playing marbles, and he dropped 2 marbles. He forgot. Stepped on them. You know how they go on the ground when you step on them. It rained. Things went down a little further, and the marbles ended up on this layer here with the old stuff. So we have 5,000-year-old arrowhead, we have a 50-year-old ceramics, and a 20-year-old marble. So that's where the archaeologists, very important, that every time you dig in those layers, you mark everything down. So if someone finds an artifact or anything, leave it. Call the archaeologist. We'll mark it down because the information we get from it is very, very important. Just the date, the dates, the time, where you found it, how deep it was. It's very, very important. So that's what we do. That's what archaeologists do.
Texas, Central Texas, get really good flint, bring it back, trade it back over here. So we find a lot of things around here that are not made out of local material. Way off.
Now what's that thing down there that looks sort of like a crossbow with a millstone?
It's a little drill. It's got a little, we put a point on it, but it cranks up and it'll kind of work itself. So you can drill through stone or antler or wood or anything else with it.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, your ancestors did.
Necessity.
People made them in Europe and Africa and in Asia and in the New World. And everybody figured out how to do it.
It's interesting how a lot of these things is like they call them cultural universals. They just spread across every culture. Everybody had some version of that, some version of this. Even into culture, it's a lot of the same things.
Let's just get it out where it's almost deep enough to stay in this little hole.
That look all sawdust there.
Yeah, it's working. It's got a
Now
little.
what's your point?
It's got a little flint point. Chipped out. It's looks like a little T. It slides up in a little slot. It's tied in. When it wears off, and it will wear off, but it doesn't wear off as fast as you might think. The flint's got a hardness of 8 and a diamond is 10, so it's a very tough stone. And so these little points last a long time. You're more apt to snap them if it gets crooked.